As the train rattled through the countryside, I watched the familiar landscape unfold before my eyes. It had been 4 long years since I left my small hometown to pursue my college education in the bustling city. Now, at 23 years old, I was returning home for spring break, eager to reconnect with family and friends. Little did I know that this journey would unravel a dark secret, linking my family to the chilling urban legend of the skinwalkers. The legends of skinwalkers had been whispered through the generations in hushed tones, their presence deeply ingrained in the town's folklore. Tales of shadowy figures that roamed the night, capable of shapeshifting into animals and wielding dark powers, had always sent shivers down my spine. But like most urban legends, I dismissed them as mere fabrications, the product of vivid imaginations. As the train pulled into the station, I could feel a sense of anticipation mixed with unease. The town looked much the same as I remembered, a charming place nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. I breathed in the familiar scent of damp earth and listened to the chorus of birds singing in the distance. Home. But little did I know that the tranquility I associated with this place was about to be shattered. My parents lived on the outskirts of town, surrounded by miles of thick woods. As I stepped off the train, I felt a chill in the air, a premonition of the unsettling events that would unfold. The journey home was uneventful, and I soon found myself standing in front of the weathered, welcoming door of our family home. The house was warm and inviting, adorned with family photographs that captured memories of a simpler time. I could almost hear the echoes of laughter and feel the warmth of my parents' hugs. But as I settled into my childhood room, the feeling of unease returned, as if an invisible presence lurked just beyond the walls. That night, I joined my parents for dinner, eager to hear about their lives and share stories of my college adventures. The conversation flowed easily, laughter filled the air, but beneath the surface, an unspoken tension simmered. I couldn't help but notice the occasional glances exchanged between my parents, laden with concern. Finally, unable to contain my curiosity any longer, I broached the subject of the skinwalkers. My parents' faces tightened, their eyes filled with a mix of caution and fear. They exchanged a glance, silently communicating their hesitance to reveal the truth. But I pressed on, my voice filled with a mix of skepticism and intrigue. "Tell me about the skinwalkers," I said, my voice barely a whisper. My mother sighed, her gaze drifting towards the window as if searching for answers amidst the darkness outside. "The skinwalkers. They are more than just stories, my dear. They are a part of our family history, a dark secret that has plagued us for generations." The room fell silent as my parents' words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of revelation. My mind raced, trying to process the enormity of what they were telling me. My family, linked to the very legends I had dismissed as folklore. It seemed unfathomable, impossible. Yet the grave expressions etched onto my parents' faces left no room for doubt. My mother began to recount the tale, a tale that had been passed down through the generations, whispered between family members in hushed voices. She spoke of an ancestor, a woman with an uncanny ability to communicate with animals, to wield the forces of nature. It was a gift bestowed upon her, a gift that carried with it a great responsibility. But as the story unfolded, the gift took a darker turn. The ancestor's abilities attracted the attention of others, of those who sought to harness her powers for their own gain. The woman, burdened with the weight of her abilities, succumbed to the temptation and strayed from the path of light. In her desperation for more power, she delved into forbidden rituals and dark magic. She became a skinwalker, a creature bound to the shadows, forever cursed to roam the night. And as generations passed, the burden of the skinwalkers fell upon our family like a curse that refused to be broken. As my mother finished her tale, a heavy silence enveloped the room. I stared at my parents, searching for answers, grappling with the truth that had been laid bare before me. The room seemed to constrict around me, and I struggled to catch my breath. The weight of my family's legacy bore down upon my shoulders, threatening to consume me. Days turned into weeks, and the truth that had been unveiled continued to haunt my thoughts. I found myself venturing into the woods, searching for answers amidst the towering trees that held centuries of secrets. Each step I took felt like a journey into the unknown, a plunge into the heart of my family's legacy. As I walked, a strange sensation washed over me, an eerie mix of anticipation and dread. The air was heavy with a primal energy, and I could almost hear the whispers of those who had come before me. I closed my eyes, allowing my instincts to guide me deeper into the woods, surrendering to the pull of destiny. Suddenly, a rustling in the underbrush startled me. I turned, my heart pounding in my chest, only to be met with a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness. My breath caught in my throat as a creature emerged, a majestic wolf, its fur shimmering under the moonlight. Time stood still as our gazes locked, and I felt a strange kinship, a connection that transcended the boundaries of the natural world. In that moment, I understood. I understood the weight of my family's legacy and the choices that lay before me. I had a decision to make, to embrace the darkness that coursed through my veins, or to defy the curse that threatened to consume me. With a mixture of fear and determination, I raised my voice, a primal cry that echoed through the night. The wolf tilted its head, as if acknowledging my choice, before vanishing into the wilderness, leaving behind a sense of purpose and an unwavering resolve. As I emerged from the woods, a newfound sense of purpose radiated within me. I had made my choice to embrace my family's legacy, not as a skinwalker bound to darkness, but as a guardian, a protector of the balance between the natural and supernatural realms. Returning to my family, I shared my revelation with my parents. Though they were filled with concern and trepidation, they understood the importance of my decision. Together, we vowed to channel the powers bestowed upon us for the greater good, to honor the memory of our ancestors, and protect those who were unaware of the hidden forces that surrounded them. The town, once shrouded in ignorance and fear, began to change. I became a bridge between the mortal realm and the mystical world, educating others about the existence of the skinwalkers and guiding those who sought to understand their place within this delicate balance. With time, the town embraced its heritage, acknowledging the skinwalkers as guardians rather than monsters lurking in the shadows. As the years passed, I continued my journey, refining my abilities and passing on the knowledge to the next generation. I walked the line between light and darkness, forever vigilant in my duty to protect both the town and my own humanity. And so, as I stand here, at the edge of the forest that holds both secrets and salvation, I am grateful for the journey that brought me to this point. The urban legend of the skinwalkers, once a source of fear and uncertainty, has become a part of my identity, a reminder that sometimes destiny calls upon us to embrace our true selves, even when it leads us down paths we never imagined.
The old house we had just moved into had always felt a little off. The creaky floors, the eerie shadows that danced along the walls, and the constant whispers in the wind outside. But it wasn't until my little sister, Emily, and I stumbled upon an old door in the basement that things took a horrifying turn. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon when Emily and I decided to explore the depths of our new home. Our parents were busy unpacking boxes, and we were left to our own devices. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, we ventured into the dark abyss of the basement. The air was heavy and damp as we descended the creaking wooden stairs. The feeble beam of our flashlights cast eerie shadows on the cold concrete walls. We moved cautiously, our imaginations running wild with excitement. As we reached the bottom step, Emily's eyes widened and she tugged at my sleeve. "Look, Daniel," she whispered, pointing towards the corner of the basement. "That door wasn't there before, was it?" I squinted through the darkness, and sure enough, there it was, an old wooden door that seemed to have materialized out of thin air. Its surface was covered in dust and cobwebs, as if it hadn't been touched in decades. I could feel a shiver crawl up my spine, but curiosity got the better of us. With trembling hands, I reached for the rusty doorknob and turned it slowly. The door creaked open, revealing a pitch-black void beyond. The air grew colder, and a gust of wind rushed through the basement, blowing out our flashlights. We were engulfed in darkness. Fear gnawed at my insides, but I couldn't leave Emily alone. Clutching her hand tightly, I stepped through the threshold, the door closing behind us with a resounding thud. The sound reverberated through the empty space, and a sinking feeling settled in the pit of my stomach. As our eyes adjusted to the darkness, we realized we were in a long, narrow corridor. The walls were made of crumbling stone, and a faint, sickly smell hung in the air. Whispers echoed through the corridor, taunting us, but I urged Emily to keep moving forward. With each step, the darkness seemed to swallow us whole. I could sense an ominous presence lingering, watching us from the shadows. Panic threatened to consume me, but I had to stay strong for Emily's sake. Suddenly, a dim light appeared in the distance, flickering like a dying flame. It beckoned us forward, like a glimmer of hope in the abyss. As we approached, the source of the light revealed itself. A small room with a single flickering candle sitting atop a rickety wooden table. Relief washed over me as I reached for the candle, but as my fingers grazed its waxy surface, the whispers grew louder, forming into indistinguishable voices. The walls of the room seemed to close in, suffocating us. Emily clutched my arm, her eyes wide with terror. "Daniel, we need to leave," she pleaded, her voice quivering. I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. We turned to leave, only to find that the door we had entered through was no longer there. Panic welled up inside me as I realized we were trapped in this sinister place. Frantically, we searched for an escape, our hands trailing along the cold, stone walls. But no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't find a way out. The whispers grew louder, their words incomprehensible, yet filled with malice. Hours turned into an eternity as we wandered aimlessly through the endless corridors. Our spirits were broken and hope was slipping through our fingers. It was then, in our darkest moment, that we stumbled upon a hidden chamber. The chamber was adorned with macabre symbols etched into the walls. A foul stench permeated the air, causing bile to rise in my throat. Trembling, we stepped inside, hoping beyond hope that we would find a way out. In the center of the chamber, a grotesque figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, gaunt man with sunken eyes and a twisted grin. His voice was like nails on a chalkboard as he spoke, each word filled with malevolence. "Welcome, children," he hissed, his voice dripping with malice. "You have entered my domain, and now you shall never leave." Emily clung to me, tears streaming down her face. I felt a surge of protectiveness rise within me, despite the overwhelming despair. I refused to let this twisted entity destroy us. Summoning all my courage, I shouted at the figure. "Who are you? What do you want from us?" The man chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "I am the keeper of souls, and you have unwittingly stumbled into my realm. Your souls shall nourish me for eternity." Desperation fueled my actions as I lunged forward, grabbing Emily's hand. We darted past the figure, racing through the labyrinth of corridors. The whispers grew deafening, tormenting us as we fought for our lives. Time lost all meaning as we ran, our hearts pounding in our chests. We could feel the darkness closing in, threatening to swallow us whole. But just as hope was about to abandon us, a glimmer of light appeared ahead. We burst through a door, stumbling into the familiar sight of our basement. The old door that had led us into this nightmare stood wide open, inviting us back into the safety of our home. Collapsing onto the basement floor, we gasped for breath, tears streaming down our faces. The ordeal was over, but the memory of that horrific place would forever haunt our dreams. Years have passed since that fateful day, and Emily and I have never spoken of our ordeal to anyone. But every now and then, when we pass by that old basement door, a chill runs down our spines. We know that evil lingers just beyond our reach, waiting for another unsuspecting victim to unleash its horrors once again.
The ringing of the phone shattered the silence of the evening, making me jump in surprise. I glanced at the caller ID, but it displayed an unfamiliar number. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to answer the call. "Hello," I said, my voice laced with cautious anticipation. There was a moment of silence, and then a voice spoke from the other end, a voice that sent shivers down my spine. It was my own voice, but it sounded weary and filled with desperation. "Listen to me carefully," the voice whispered urgently. "You are in danger. A killer is looming, and your life is at stake." My heart pounded in my chest as a chill ran down my spine. How could this be? Was I losing my mind? But the voice continued, providing details only I would know. "In 5 minutes, a man will arrive at your doorstep," the voice warned. "He is ruthless and will show no mercy. You must do whatever it takes to survive." My mind raced, struggling to process the information. Should I call the police? Should I lock all the doors and hide? Fear gripped me like a vise, but a newfound determination ignited within me. If this was a warning from my future self, then I had to trust it. Without wasting another second, I sprang into action. I locked all the doors and windows, pulling the curtains shut to conceal my presence. My hands trembled as I reached for a kitchen knife, the only means of defense I had. Minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness. Every creak and rustle outside sent my heart into a frenzy. Was the killer already lurking in the shadows? The uncertainty gnawed at my nerves, but I refused to succumb to paralyzing fear. Suddenly, a knock echoed through the house, shattering the fragile peace. My breath caught in my throat, and I clutched the knife tightly, my knuckles turning white. I inched towards the front door, my pulse pounding in my ears. Peering through the peephole, I saw a man standing on the porch, a tall, menacing figure cloaked in darkness. His eyes were cold and calculating, his presence exuding a malevolence that made my blood run cold. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my trembling hands. This was it, the moment of truth. I had to fight for my life. As I swung the door open, the man's eyes locked with mine, a gaze that seemed to pierce through my soul. The knife clutched tightly in my hand. I raised it in self-defense. But before I could make a move, the man's expression twisted into a sinister grin. "You can't escape your fate," he hissed, his voice chilling to the bone. My heart sank as the realization hit me. I had fallen into a trap. The phone call, the warning from my future self, it had all been an elaborate ruse to lure me into this nightmare. The man lunged towards me with inhuman speed, overpowering me in an instant. I fought with every ounce of strength I had, but his grip was unyielding. Panic surged through me as I realized the hopelessness of my situation. As the world spun around me, my vision fading, I heard a voice, the same voice that had called me earlier. It was filled with regret and sorrow, a voice haunted by the horrors of its own existence. "I'm sorry," the voice whispered, laced with an indescribable pain. "I tried to save you, but the cycle is unbreakable. This is our fate." Darkness consumed me, enveloping me in its cold embrace. When I awoke, I found myself in a place beyond time and space, a purgatory of sorts. The voice that had called me my future self was there too? A specter trapped in the same endless loop. We were condemned to relive that fateful night over and over again, each iteration ending with our demise. The killer, the phone call, the desperate fight for survival. It played out in an unending cycle, forever repeating our tragic fate. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. I lost count of time as the horrors repeated, driving me to the brink of madness. The sound of the ringing phone became an omen of terror, and the voice on the other end, a haunting reminder of my doomed existence. In this purgatory of endless torment, I clung to a sliver of hope. A hope that one day, perhaps, I could break free from this vicious cycle. Until then, I remained trapped, forever hunted by a killer I could never escape and a voice from a future I could never change.